Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the book Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. Yeah. So, I finished Red Rising, and then I got onto this, and holy shit, this one was just as much of a roller coaster as the previous one. Now granted, the beginning, I'm like, where the fuck is this damn thing going? Because we start 2 years after Red Rising ended, and we see that Darrow is at the academy, actually fighting like Carnus Albella, Bologna, not Bologna, Bellona, Cassius's brother, and there's like a whole blood feud and everything, and we see that Darrow gets defeated by him. Now granted, it is a kind of fucked up way that he's kind of defeated, and he almost kind of inches it out, but not quite, to the point where Augustus is pretty much like removing him from his employ. And it's like, okay, then how is this going to kind of affect Darrow and the son of Ares' plans of going and dealing with like how society's structured and everything? So they kind of go to Luna. We learned that he's kind of on the outs with Mustang at the moment because of how he chose to pretty much go and be her father's warlord rather than do Mustang's kind of political, more kind of game of her different kind of tactics. She's just doing it in a different kind of way than Darrow is. And we see that he's having differences. His friend Raquel is trying to figure out ways to help him. However, Darrow's not opening up to him. And we see that Victra, Antonia's sister, older sister, who's into Darrow, has pretty much this other kind of plan and shows Darrow to the Jackal, who wants to pretty much do this kind of stuff with the Syndicate, kind of take over in a different kind of way than his father. He then gets reintroduced to the Sons of Ares again, Evie trying to kill the Jackal with a bomb before getting back with them and linking up with Harmony. And we learn that through Harmony that Io was pregnant when she was killed. And granted, this is important information, but you can tell that Harmony is utilizing this to get Darrow to do her own kind of spiel. It's like, what the fuck's kind of going on? Granted, I understand infiltration and subterfuge is needed for this kind of double agent kind of thing that Darrow's got going on. But when I was like with the Academy and him getting relinquished by Augustus, I'm like, where is this going to kind of go? Like, I don't need a complete straight line, but then it just starts kind of snowballing. He goes to Luna, he's got a couple days, and he's given a bomb by Harmony to pretty much set off and kill everybody at this kind of gathering. Sovereign, the Bolognas, not Bolognas, Bologna, it is kind of like Bologna, but sorry, I know the pronunciation's going nutty with me on that one. I just keep hearing Bologna, not Bellona. There we go. And we see Cassius there, who's been made one of the knights for the Sovereign, and he's with Mustang, and it kind of throws Darrow for a loop. And I really hate that Harmony pretty much utilizes to pretty much make him into a suicide bomber. And he then fights through it and decides, fuck this shit. And decides to instead go and institute pretty much a civil war with this whole kind of thing. And pretty much fighting Cassius, taking off his arm, pretty much putting the Sovereign in a position where she compromises herself and compromises her reign. And she almost tries to go and wipe out the Augustus clan. Pretty much tries to offer Darrow to be with her employ, but he's like, fuck that shit, and decides to pretty much help Augustus. And seeing their escape from Luna was fucking nuts, where him and Severo pretty much get into the Star Shell armors and pretty much take over another ship. And Darrow pretty much utilizes his ability to charismatically influence the lower colors to go up against the golds, and they take the ship like that. It's like, ooh, interesting. And this then keeps him within Augustus's employ, and as pretty much like a warlord, figuring out what to do, how to effectively fight the Sovereign, the Bellona, and how they can kind of like get back to Mars and everything. It was just fucking nutty and gnarly seeing that kind of spin out, because at first I'm like, alright, where's this, because when Darrow pretty much got the threat of getting out of the employ, I was like, okay, where's this kind of gonna go now? Let me see. So then they pretty much are trying to figure out and get allies. They get the Telemanuses. He pretty much forces Lorne Arcos, pretty much the previous Rage Knight, who had taught Darrow some things, to come to their side, because the Sovereign pretty much sent people to pretty much get Darrow, get the Augustuses, and also pretty much take out Lorne if he looked like he was defecting. This is where Tactus, who had pretty much betrayed them because they had captured Lysander, Octavia's grandson, and he fled off with that because he'd helped himself out. And the thing is, Darrow's able to convince him to kind of come back to his side before Lorne pretty much is like, oh, you're not going to kill my grandchildren? Fuck you, as he then murders him, not giving him a chance to be a better man. It's like, shit. But see, a lot of stuff starts rolling as well, because one of the Howlers, Quinn, gets killed, and Raquel had a very close relationship with her. Let's see here. There's also a nice kind of affecting moment where Severo gives a message from Ares to Darrow, and that Severo accepts him, and it's really emotionally powerful as Darrow's like, I'm not alone. I don't have to keep this in anymore. That one was a really good thing. Let's see here. Plenty, of course, is trying to pretty much, he's this dude in the background pretty much trying to betray and do everything that he can. And he calls for like this Iron Rain to invade Mars and to also televise the battle against the Sovereign. And we see him setting up and doing other kind of things. During his capturing of what the ship would eventually be called, the Pax, he gets the service of this stained Ragnar, and through the course of this invasion of Mars, he gives Ragnar a razor, which the Obsidians are not allowed to have. But we see him helping these colors, these lower colors, and different colors, to perform better and do things that the golds are like, what the fuck are you doing? And they know that they have to capture the Sovereign really quickly, but however, their plan doesn't work out very well because they get hit with an EMP that fucks up their star shells in the water pretty much, and Darrow has to like cut himself free. And we learn after this that Darrow pretty much goes in, he's pretty much cornered, he's able to kill Karnus, but we also see that Fitchner has become the new Rage Knight for the Sovereign, and we learned that the Sovereign pretty much orders Fitchner to kill Darrow, but we learn that he's actually Ares. He saves Darrow, and we get that whole kind of spiel, kind of info down, and we're like, oh shit. And his whole thing is he fell in love with a red, and they got carved so that way they could have a kid who's Severo. So he's half red and half gold. And the thing is, he didn't have as much of a visceral experience that Darrow did, actually having to kill his wife. He just found out one day that they found out about it, and they just killed his wife. He didn't get to see it, didn't get to say goodbye to her. She was killed and then like disposed of, and that's when he started doing his shit. And it's like, oh shit. It was a different kind of perspective, and it's like, holy shit. Let's see here. So they pretty much Raquel, we see him festering throughout this book. As we get towards the end, he is able to pretty much take on. They win in the space. They pretty much win. The Sovereign is able to escape, and they pretty much have this kind of triumph. They're getting ready to do this kind of parade. Darrow does reveal that he has a Red 2 Mustang. He also reveals to Ragnar as well, and she doesn't really know what to do with it and kind of leaves him in his home. He's able to talk with his mother, and that's a nice affecting moment. I really like the balance of what they were doing in this until we get to the end. The end is just complete and utter holy shit fuckings that we get. And if you get into this series, how do I say this? If you like the first one, I think you're going to like the second one. And if that's the case, make sure you have the third one on deck because of how this fucking thing ends. Now, you can, like, I usually talk spoilers and everything, but how this ends, I'm like, I'm glad I got that third book and I'm reading through it, man. Like, I'm not having as much bleed over, but we see him kind of like getting to these kind of points, and then we see that Raquel, who has been pestering through the book, helped with betrayal, and we see that Orn gets killed, murdered by the Jackal's Bone Riders, and that Raquel paralyzes Darrow. We see in this box for the Triumph kind of mask thing. Instead of the mask, it was Fitchner's head. So they have killed Ares, and they take Augustus and kill him, and it just goes to shit. And it's like, what the fuck? And then it's even kind of worse when you get into the third book. It's like, oh my god, what the fuck? Victra's shot by her sister. And the thing is, we see that, like, the Jackal's gloating over his father, and that he says that he should have just killed him in his crib, and then the Jackal just murders him. Let's see. And the Sovereign wants to dissect Darrow to figure out what was kind of going on with his carving. So it really ends on a, like, complete nutty ass note where it's like, okay, Darrow had this great kind of victory. And then it just completely and utterly spirals into just fucking horrendousness. And we're still dealing with the fallout in the third book as it's all going on. So this was definitely a good one in my opinion, because I thought we're like, okay, we're going to have this kind of interesting linear kind of build up, and it's like, nope. We do 2 years. We pretty much get Darrow into a position where he's able to institute the civil war that he'd been wanting, and it just goes to complete nutty ass shit. Like, it's interesting seeing him move throughout this space, try and figure out how to deal with his friends, how to deal with the secrets that he carries, and how to institute this civil war between the Golds to kind of start ripping society apart, because it's a fucked up machine that enslaves all of them. Even if the Golds think they're the ones at the top, they still do horrendous shit to each other. The whole passage thing to get into the Institute, all these blood feuds, how tenuous it is to have anybody be in a leadership position. I mean, the Sovereign killed her own grandfather. Grandfather? Or father? No, it was her father. Sorry. There was also a mistake in this. They referred to her... Let me see. Referred to Lysander as her son instead of her grandson on one page. Yeah, page 138. It was really kind of weird. Just the only little kind of bit. Alright, you son of a bitch. But, like, she killed her father to pretty much get it. And it's like, Okay, yeah, oh, it's her father, not her grandfather. And that her grandson is pretty much being groomed to take over from her. It's just a fucked up society, and seeing all this kind of crazy ass shit, it's like, oh god! Let me see. Yeah, it was the father. I just wanted to make sure on that. So yeah, this goes into different kind of places. It goes from more of like the kind of teenager, young adult kind of killing kind of games to warfare and the understanding of how it is done. And I do really like the battle descriptions in this because it's a hard bit because you have to figure out how the tech would be utilized on the ground and in space. And I like the descriptions of the space and the ground combat as well, and how everything's kind of changed up with how the technology kind of works out. That would be a place where I would think this would get hung up a lot, but I just really enjoyed all of the aspects, even though I don't personally like what's happening in the book. Like, I'm like, hey, I wish Dara would be good, and everything would work out, and all these people would find the error of their ways. But it's like, nope, they're all going to fuck all hell, man, and they're just going there as fast as they can. It's like, ah, shit. But I like the character work, I like the plotting, and the pacing, even though in the beginning I'm like, where the fuck is this going? And then I'm like, ah, shit. And then we get off there, and we're going off at like 100%. It's like, ah! And just seeing how they, like, there's never a point where I don't think a character acts out of, like, there's never a point in here where I think a character acts out of character. Even if I'm like, I wouldn't expect them to react that way, I understand why they react in those kind of ways, in those kind of instances. It's like, shit. Alright, so, now, I only have Red Rising, Golden Sun, and Morning Star at this point, so I'll take a little kind of break, also because there's Iron Gold, Dark Age, there's another book, and then Red God, or whatnot. So I also have other books that I'm going to be reading and looking into as well, like 2 Witcher books, Mistborn as well, but that's, even though I'm taking a little break, I definitely want to see where this series goes. Like, I've been really happy with it so far. Like, it's really kind of refreshing. It's like, ah, shit, I didn't expect to be, like, so surprised in how these things work out. And also seeing Darrow kind of wrestle with what he wants to be versus the kind of habits that he has grown into, of, like, the violence and trying to solve things with certain kind of force and manipulation versus wanting to be trusting and wanting to trust his friends and allies and trying to break down the kind of shit that he's learned from the society. That's a very hard thing to do, and I think that's very well shown throughout these books, like these 2 books in the series at this point. So hopefully that kind of continues. So I would definitely recommend this if you liked Red Rising, and even though I'm not done the 3rd book, I would recommend you get the 2nd and the 3rd book, because you're going to get to the end of this and be like, what the fuck happens now, man? Yeah, because you're going to be itching for it. So, those are my opinions on the book. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.